Chapter 5 The City. The next morning he said, "Get your coat and hat. We're going." "Going where?" I asked. "Are you taking me to my mother?" I picked at the dried blood in my ear. He grunted and flicked his cigarette into the kitchen sink. "We're going to the city." "But my mother—" He raised his hand. I jumped back, knocking over the chair. "Enough about your mother," he said. "Just get your coat and let's go." I followed him to the train station, one step, then 2 steps behind. Women stood in the bread lines, bundled in coats and scarves and shawls. My eyes searched hungrily for the red coat. She would see me stumbling behind this bad man. She would run to me, sweep me away. I would show her the missing button. She would hug me to her. "My good Mishka, my brave boy." We would not let him through our door ever again. A hand grabbed the back of my neck. "Keep up, boy," he growled. My legs told me to run as far and fast as I could from him. His hand tightened on the back of my neck. He shoved me through the train station doors. You know where my mother is in the city?" I asked. Sure, he said. A large, bright eye winked at the end of the train track. The eye of a large beast racing, snaking toward us, hissing and screeching. I grabbed his hand. He slapped me away. "Stop acting like a frightened little girl." I almost laughed. It was, after all, just a train. He yanked me through the train doors and onto the hard plastic seat. Once I had been on the train with my babeshka Ina. She had held me up on her lap so I could see the lights of our little village tick, tick past. He lit a cigarette and snapped open the newspaper. I knelt down and watched our village grow smaller and smaller. "Wake up!" A hand shook me. "Come on, kid, I don't have time for this." He pulled me to my feet and out the door of the train. I followed behind him, across the platform, past carts of food, roasted hazelnuts, sausage, whole potatoes wrapped in newspaper. My stomach growled. My mouth watered. "Wait!" I called to the back of his tattered coat, but he did not. Everywhere inside the station were people. They hurried to the trains. They hurried away from the trains. They carried bundles and bags and satchels. They did not look left. They did not look right. They did not look at me as I called again. "Wait!" He finally stopped. "Is this where my mother is?" I asked. He laughed. It was as I had thought. She had moved to the city. She had a good job and a warm place for us to live, with lots of food and sweet sticky buns. When we walked up the steps to our fine apartment, she would throw open the door and pull me into her arms. She would close the door in his face, for good this time. He grabbed me by the arm and pulled me up the steps. I stumbled on one stair, then another, scraping my knee. I did not care. I would soon be with my mother, and all would be as it should be. We broke into the sunlight, the fall air. Snowflakes wheeled around overhead, settling on his shoulders and on the toes of his brown boots. He looked up on the street one way and the other. "Where the hell is she?" he growled. I looked up at him and smiled. He brought me to her. Perhaps he was not such a bad man after all. "Spaisto," I said. "Thank you." We stood in the falling snow and waited. He smoked a cigarette, then another. I watched for the red coat and rubbed the black button in my pocket over and over with my thumb. A very dirty boy with no coat or hat or shoes walked over to us. My mother would never let me get so dirty. She would certainly not let me go outside without coat or hat, especially not without shoes. The boy tugged on the man's coat sleeve. He held out a filthy hand. "Please, sir." Before I could wonder what the boy wanted from him, the man cuffed the boy on the side of his head. Beat it, you filthy little beggar. Go bother someone else. The dirty boy glared at me and then spat at my famous basketball player shoes. Finally, the man flicked his cigarette to the ground and wrapped his scarf around his neck. He grabbed my arm. Come on, let's go. I trod beside him, looking and looking for the red coat, for my mother's smiling face, her chestnut hair, her outspread arms that would engulf me like angel wings. Where? I said. Where is she? There. I stopped dead in my tracks. This woman coming toward us was not my mother. She wore a black coat. A brown scarf covered most of her gray hair. Her arms were folded across her big chest. She did not smile as she looked down at me. So this is the boy. I looked from the unsmiling woman to the man. Perhaps she was my mother's friend? Are you taking me to my mother? I asked. The woman frowned. I thought you said he had no parents, she snapped. Her eyes were small and hard like the eyes of the witch Baba Yaga in my fairy tale book. He's just a kid. He doesn't know anything. The unsmiling woman sighed. Most of the children in the orphanage don't know anything either, at least about their parents. Orphanage. The word dropped like a cold stone in my stomach. Once on the television news I saw a story about orphanages in the city. None of the children in those places smiled or had mothers. Mostly they cried. They were almost as dirty as that beggar boy, but not quite. I cannot go to an orphanage, I explained. My mother won't find me there. Your mother isn't looking for you, said. She is, I said. The woman in the coat that was black, not red, grabbed my shoulder. Come on, boy, it's time to go. No! I jerked away from her, a hand more like a claw, a witch's claw. I heard my mother's voice say, Run, Mishka, run. I spun away from them, looking for the red coat. I saw green coats, blue coats, gray coats, and many black coats. He grabbed me, twisting my arm. Come on, you brat. And then I saw a flash of bright red. I tore away from his grasp, ripping my coat from my body. Run, Mishka, run. I did. I ran as fast as I had ever run toward that flash of red. As it descended down the steps of the railway station, I dashed this way and through the train station, looking at the crowds and hurrying people for the red coat. Finally I saw it, sitting in line like a beacon, waiting to board the train. Gripping the button in my pocket, I pushed through the sea of brown, black, and gray, desperate to keep sight of my mother. The wave of brown and black and gray swept me onto the train. I spotted a small figure in the red coat with chestnut hair beneath a blue scarf standing in the front. I wound through a forest of legs, touched the red sleeve, and held out the button and smiled. The train lurched. I staggered back against the black and gray. Watch it, someone said, pushing me upright. I looked at the face of the woman in the blue scarf. Her hair was black, not chestnut. She did not smile. The coat was not even red. She was not my mother.